Hey guys, George here with Roofgraf. A short video today on how to capture accurate measurements using this measurement and proposal platform. So we're starting today on the drawing tool. If you haven't seen the videos on how to create square projects or proposals, I recommend you watch those first. You'll see sort of what's required to arrive at this stage. Essentially entering an address, just confirming you're happy with the image. Once you've done that, you'll land here on this tool, and then your first action here, guys, is just to trace out the perimeter of the roof. So you'll notice on this image here, if you click on any point, you can then move your mouse, and we will basically create a blue line, which obviously will follow you over to the next corner. So you click a second time on that second corner, and then essentially just repeat that process all the way around the outside of the roof to begin with. Very, very simple. Essentially, we're just following the eaves and rakes on this particular property. If you feel like you've gone a little bit too quick, or you've got it a point not exactly where it should be, do remember you can always pick up these grey circles, hold your left finger down on the mouse, that will drag the points back into place. And you'll notice as well, guys, there's a function here that tries to kind of find perfect right angles. We assume that all of these buildings are built at perfect right angles. If that's preventing you from getting your point exactly where it should be, if you are on a desktop, you can hold the Shift key, and that will sort of essentially disable the function that attempts to kind of click into perfect right angles. So that way you can drop this point exactly where you would like. Once you've got a correct perimeter on the roof, next step is to draw in the internal lines. So that's your hips here, your ridge, your valley, and so on. Do bear in mind, guys, you always want to start at an existing point when you're doing this. Never start in the middle of the roof, say where these hips meet that ridge. The reason being is that we've left a kind of an open end there, and it's going to be very difficult for us to actually close that surface without adding in lines that shouldn't be there. So this is a how not to do it, and the way that you should be approaching this, guys, as I say, just start at the perimeter like this, click up once where the hip meets the ridge, back down the other hip, and now you can see I can move my mouse without any blue lines following me. So once we've got those first two lines in, let's just run all the way through the middle of this roof, up the ridge, hip, back down to the far side, back out to the perimeter, and then obviously from there just connecting the dots, adding in the valleys, and then lastly those two hips out the back there. Now what you'll notice here, guys, as well, is we do obviously label the length of each line, and also the square footage of each of those facets. You can see those here on the screen. In some cases, those may actually prevent you from getting a clear view of what you're trying to draw. If that's the case, you can always untick the box at the bottom that says show dimensions. That will obviously hide those numbers, and that way you can really make sure that you've not missed any lines when you're drawing. Now if you are working in an urban area, you will have this button in the top right hand corner here, the apply button. That will find the pitch and the line types for you. So you can see the line types listed on your right hand side here. Eave goes in blue, hip in red, and so on. So we'll hit the apply button now, and Roofgraf will essentially automate the final steps there. So it will give us our pitch 5 on 12 all over, and there we can see we've coloured in a few different line types. So we'll close that. You can see now our ridge in green, hip in red, valley in yellow, eave in blue, and lastly rake in purple. So of course we've got a 5 on 12 all over. That has been accounted for now in our top left, our total square count, standing at about 21.7 squares at this stage before waste. Now a couple of other points to bring your attention to here, guys, before we move on from the drawing. You do have the street view option on the right hand side, so this will actually take you to a kind of a street level view of that property, just a way for you guys to get a better idea of what you're trying to draw. You can always move that image up or down the street, try and get a view from the side of the property. Really just there to help you guys validate that you have drawn everything correctly. And one other option as well, especially if you're new to the software or if you're new to the roofing industry, is the 3D option that we have here on the right hand side. So that will actually build a model for you of what you've drawn on that first view, the design view. That appears here on the screen. So that's a model. You can kind of spin that around. Really, again, guys, basically just looking to make sure that what you've drawn makes sense. If we had, for example, the ridge there going into the roof, might suggest that we've got some hips listed as valleys. So if this looks like a real home, which it does to me, that means that yes, you've actually drawn this roof correctly. So we'll jump back to the design tool, and then from there you can hit your next button, and you are now finished with measuring that roof.